Good morning, students. Today we have with us Farzad Irani. He's a business development manager for New Zealand School of Education Group, and he's been associated with the New Zealand for the more than a decade. It would be very valuable session. I'm going to promise you guys. Be with us. Let's begin it.
Thank you so much, first of all, for inviting me for this session. And Trans-Pacific has been our, industry and immigration partner for a very long time now. And so thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah. Further, let's begin it from the beginning. How a student has to select a New Zealand over the other destinations?
Right. So, I'll talk about New Zealand in general as a country. So there are a lot of myths, that we need to break. That is, people call it that New Zealand is still an agricultural country and there are a lot of sheep there and, they're not more advanced compared to. So whenever a student or a parent makes a choice of sending their, child abroad, they ideally think of US, UK, Australia, Canada,
Correct.
Ireland, and then comes New Zealand, behind. But this is just to break the myth, to let you know, first of all, do you guys know that New Zealand is #1 English-speaking country in the world? I think no one knows that. Second thing is, there are so many innovations and there are so many IT projects and things that are undertaken by New Zealand as a country that eventually gets impacted to a lot of Western countries, first world countries, but also, countries like India, Asia. A lot of things are reflected from New Zealand and they are amazing when it comes to quality.
Okay. So when it comes to attracting the talent throughout the globe, especially in your perspective, what New Zealand is doing now?
So New Zealand has developed a lot, okay? And when I talk about, being associated with New Zealand for a decade, I have seen a lot of changes, from the perspective of education industry in New Zealand, I would say. There are, we are amongst the top 500, QS ranking universities. We have only 8 universities and all 8 are public universities. There is no private section there. Then we have polytechnics there. Then we also have private training establishment that I, represent. The NZSE is a private training establishment. We are a category 1 provider. So irrespective of what, there is a qualification authority board, which is called NZQA in New Zealand. So every single institute has to adhere by the policies of a central board, which is called NZQA, and eventually is the degrees and the diplomas, whatever you complete, irrespective of the university or a polytechnic or a private college, you eventually get a degree which is, then granted by NZQA and in line with the NZQA policies.
Okay. In your perspective, Farzad, what are the major differences that you found between the New Zealand education system and the Indian education system?
I would say it is more towards practical learning in New Zealand. Of course, there's going to be a lot of theoretical knowledge, but with that, there's a lot of practical exposure given to our students. It is a very open and wide community wherein you will find students from across the globe, in your classroom, right? So one Indian student, one Filipino student, one Chinese student, one Fijian, one from US. So it is a multicultural society, which is something that absolutely we are not going to find in India. Apart from that, the quality of education, of course, I wouldn't put India down there, but the quality of education is far superior compared to, a lot of other countries. A lot of prospects for students to get into, a relevant industry, a relevant job, which we fail to, see in India.
Okay. So when it comes to education system is already, more of a research based or a practical oriented rather than theoretical oriented. In India, then we are more into a theoretical oriented.
Right.
Okay. So when it comes to being an international student, if I want to select a New Zealand, so then what would be as an international student, you will have the choices, how he can be comparing with another destinations. What is?
So, okay. Just to give you a perspective about, New Zealand education system. So there is not a single course or there's not a single specialization that is not available in New Zealand if you compare to any other country, right? There are top 500 companies, Fortune 500 companies, which have their existence in New Zealand, which people are unaware about. I'm talking about big companies like PwC, like Google, and many, many more, right? Microsoft, everyone has their existence in New Zealand. They have their base there. New Zealand is one of the biggest, movie making industry, which people are not aware about.
Okay.
Like, movies like Hobbit, movies like Avatar, the recent Avatar, the next two coming Avatars are being shot in New Zealand. The Hobbit, there's a Hobbit town which is created in New Zealand. So it is not just about education, but it is far superior when it comes to natural beauty also of the country. But again, if we stick to education as a topic, eventually the end goal of parents or the students, investing money is for their child or is for them to personally get settled in a first world country and not just gain a diploma degree. And New Zealand is ranked second most peaceful country in the world. Right? New Zealand has the 7th strongest passport in the world. So that just proves the quality of New Zealand as a country, not just from education perspective, but also from you wanting to get settled in the country with your family in the future.
So when it comes to an education, there are 3 parts, Farhad. One is designing the curriculum.
Right.
One is teaching.
Correct.
And the third one is execution and assessment.
Absolutely.
Okay, there are 3 parts in this one. So while designing the content for a single particular course, and the course has to be approved by an NZQA, then how they design, what parameters they will consider it before design the curriculum for this one particular program. Will they consider the industry requirements, or else the future requirement of this particular country? What is the analysis?
I think it is a mixture of both, I would say. That is, given the current scenario, what is the need of the hour? And absolutely looking at the future, like what is, like, just to give you an example, right? Machine learning and AI, artificial intelligence, we know it is, it has no bounds now. It is just going from corner to corner, and it is only growing and growing and growing. So you will see a lot of institutes, universities in New Zealand have come up with specifically teaching AI to the students, specifically teaching machine learning to the students. So there is a lot of changes, and when we design the course, when the faculty, of course, designs the course, they consider all of the factors, including industry requirements, of course, because eventually the student is going to study for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, but after that they are going to enter the industrial world, wherein they are going to require a job. So the qualification that we teach to our students has to be in line with the industry requirements. Only then our students are going to be successful in their journey.
So now it is okay. Then when it comes to a professor's wise, how the professors are qualified? I mean, how the professors are spending their time with the students? How they allow the students to make the research on their own.
Correct.
I mean, how it is like,
So see, all the professors, the faculty, I can talk about my college absolutely, it's ZSEG. So the faculty that I have, are all experienced. And when I say experiences, are all into this teaching industry for more than 20, 30 years, right? They're head of schools, we have head of schools, we have different schools. So we have School of Tech, we have School of Health, we have School of Hospitality, we have School of Teaching, a lot of different schools. We have a School of ATC also, which is for, domestic students who want to enter into military for New Zealand. So all the sectors are divided properly, and the teachers, everyone that we have, I can vouch it on behalf of NZSE that the faculty and the teachers that we have are going to pay attention to each and every student independently also. And New Zealand, I think Kiwis is what you call New Zealanders. So Kiwis are someone who are very, very open. They are very warm people, honestly. And what happens is that irrespective of you taking a doubt, that today if I'm a student, right, if I have a particular doubt about, a subject or anything, be it anything, I can feel free to walk up to my head of school, to my dean, to my college professor, to admin department, and everyone will be more than happy to assist the student. So when it comes to the faculties, of course, they are the front end, and they are the one who are meeting the students day in, day out. They are helping the students do research, etc. And it is absolutely amazing to see that.
So when it comes to an assessment, last part of this education one, when it comes to an assessment, is it differs from the course to course? Or else, how do you assess the students, like, this student has learned and he is in industry ready? Like how do NZSC has maintained the parameters in terms of assessing the competence of the students?
That's majorly done by the faculty, I would say. I wouldn't have a lot to share here, but what I can say is that the parameters are set again in line with NZQA requirements, because that is something everyone has to adhere to. And When it comes to the faculty, of course, there are a lot of subjects, and School of Health might require some practical work experience, right? Whereas School of Tech might require you being in a part of industrial project. So it depends on how nicely the student is completing those projects, how nicely of course, eventually marking system is going to be there, the grading system is going to be there. And again, depends on how good the student is at coping up the studies, etc.
Okay.
But trust me when I say this, the student will not get 100, but 200% support from our faculty when it comes to getting the assessment the way they would want to meet the industry standards.
Okay.
So they will get full support, absolutely.
Okay.